And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, a very special broadcast from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios as we are here for this edition of the Dolphin Dive. You know that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media are proud exclusive partners in the multimedia marketing world with the LeMoyne College Dolphins. So this is the exclusive first interview with the new LeMoyne women's basketball head coach, Nick DiPillo. And I am so happy to be able to announce this. You know, you get patiently impatient, Nick, as we were talking about off the air. So this edition of the Dolphin Dive is celebrating the newest head coach on the Heights here in Syracuse, New York, LeMoyne Dolphins women's basketball head coach, Nick DiPillo. Nick, how are you?
Thank you. No, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's been a whirlwind of a few hours, but my family and I are so excited to immerse ourselves in the community and kind of get rolling.
Yeah, you know, and to be able to finally say this, right? To have this moment here for you. Bring me into the background and what was going on, because now that we can officially say that you're the new leader of the LeMoyne Dolphins women's basketball program, you can tell us about the process. So when did this process start, and bring us through it?
Yeah, so the process started probably 2.5-ish weeks ago. Obviously, reached out to Bob when the position opened, changed emails, had a preliminary phone call, set up a Zoom with the search committee, and I'm sure they were going through their process of talking to other really qualified candidates. A little bit of time went by. Bob reached out and invited me to campus, and you came in I think it was a Monday evening, and had dinner with Bob, and kind of got familiar with him a little bit, got to share a little bit of my vision and what that looked like, and the way I envision a program being run. And then the next morning, kind of like the whirlwind of the search committee to the different coaches, to the support staff, to the president, to meeting with some of the players. It was definitely a process. And then, a few more days goes by, and Bob called me with the great news, and then there's that waiting game of all the HR back behind the scenes stuff that you have to kind of go through. So, I'm sitting on my hands, like itching, waiting to get to work, and itching to get to know our players and everybody, and kind of get out there and sell the great product that we have here at LeMoyne now. So, today, just the top being off the can, it's exciting to kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah, Nick, you said that this was like 2.5 weeks ago when everything got started. What piqued your interest in LeMoyne, this team that is in going into its second year of the reclassification process from Division II to Division I? Why LeMoyne for you?
Yeah, it's multifaceted for me. From a basketball standpoint, I'm familiar with the Northeast Conference. I played at Fairleigh Dickinson. I know the area. The geographic footprint kind of fits who I am and where I've had a lot of success recruiting in the past. To see on film the toughness and the talent level, and the great first year that they had under Coach Grimes, that alone is really exciting. Then you kind of deep dive into the college and what it stands for. Obviously, I was at the University of Scranton, which is a fellow Jesuit institution, and what that stands for, and our ability to provide a transformative student athlete experience for our student athletes. LeMoyne embodies that mission as much as anybody. The campus is great. The people are great. And, all of those things make it an easy sell. I've always believed every job is about the people, whether that's the student athletes, the administration, whether it's the fans, the support, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And LeMoyne really checks all those boxes for me.
And you talked about the University of Scranton. You went 58-8. So you've been an assistant coach in a lot of different places, but a head coach there. a 58-8 record. I know about the Landmark Conference. I know about Division III. I am an alum of Marywood University, 4 minutes down the road from the University of Scranton. University of Scranton was the big bad wolf. So, when you think about that team and your record, 58-8, I mean, that's just uncanny. But I'd love to get into that because that was your last stint as a head coach and just what you learned from that and your time there at the University of Scranton.
That record is a product of great people, honestly, great players, great administration. Dave Martin saw something to me as someone who had never been a head coach before, that I could slide into that seat and do a good job. I inherited a really sound group of basketball players, and we were able to add to that over the following couple of years as well. I learned everything in those 3 years there. I think when you slide over those 18 inches into that seat, you don't know what you don't know half the time, right?
Yeah.
So probably made a million mistakes. The players that played for me were unbelievably gracious as we were going through the growing pains. And I think I just learned so much about myself and uh, how I want my program to look moving forward. So from the administration to the players to the people to everyone at Scranton, I mean, I'll be incredibly eternally grateful to them for my time there.
Yeah, and you've spent time in so many different places, and we put the article up on our website on wakeupcalldt.com, the exclusive breaking news article on this decision for LeMoyne College to hire Nick DiPillo as their women's basketball head coach. And when we look throughout this history, Nick, I mean, it's a long list of places that you've been, and in the women's basketball world for the majority of it. But Keene University back in 2003 to 2005 time as a men's assistant coach. What can you say going all the way back to Keene and what those initial moments of your coaching career look like for you and just what you remember?
So first job, nothing. Like you're just done playing, you still think you're a player, and you get out there and practice with the guys. And then, for me, when Bruce Hamburger hired me at Kane, it was an opportunity for me. The Division III level was great, and that's one of the things I loved about Scranton is I was able to have assistant coaches who were able to get their hands dirty in literally every single aspect of the program, from recruiting to development to scouting to travel to academics. Like there's nothing as a Division III assistant that's off limits for you. So for me, it just gave me an all-encompassing experience as to what the profession really entailed. I was fortunate to work for someone who was at the Big East level as an assistant for a long time, who had success as a Division III head coach. He threw a ton of responsibility at me. He helped me learn and grow and make mistakes and bounce back from them. Bruce is still someone who's an important figure in my life, and I talk very regularly. And I don't think without him in those 2 years there, that I would have been honestly nearly as successful as whatever success in my career has given me to this point.
And then we look at the WNBA and your time with the New York Liberty. This team, 4 trips to the postseason. What the team being the New York Liberty being synonymous with the postseason in the WNBA while you were there. I mean, that was just something that we saw consistently. A trip to the Eastern Conference Finals as well. Being an assistant in the WNBA, just what that experience brought to you. I mean, that's huge. It's incredible. I know looking at your resume with the announcement of you coming into LeMoyne, that was something that I circled. And I know that that's something that the student athletes are really going to look to, something that can help in recruitment is what it's like to be around professional athletes and, obviously working with the post players and whatnot too. Just what you can say about that time with the Liberty.
So, I think whenever you have an opportunity to, for us in our profession to coach at the highest level in the best league in the world, um, it's an unbelievable honor, one, to coach at that level, and two, the learning experience. Um, Coaches I worked with, I mean, I worked under Carol Blachowski, who's in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. I worked with Marion Stanley and Patty Coyle, who was our head coach when I was there. Got to coach against the Sandy Brondellos and the Mike Tebows of the world, and Donovan, who's the Hall of Famer as well. Some of the players I had the opportunity to coach, Becky Hammond, Teresa Witherspoon, who are both WNBA head coaches now, and just countless of Olympians and All-Stars. It exposed me to the highest level of basketball at a really, really young age and required me to make sure I was an intentional student of the game, um, because there's no days off,
Yeah.
right? You're coaching against the best coaches, against the best players. So, that experience and some of the connections I made, and the things I was able to learn kind of help. Again, I think everywhere shapes you, but this really, I think, projected me to where I wanted to eventually end up in my career.
And, being there, like you said, to coach at the highest level and to be a part of such a phenomenal league, what can you say about the WNBA from being inside of it? I've talked about it here on the show. I try to give people an opportunity to really learn more about it because I don't think we speak enough about it. The WNBA, I mean, when I was a kid, there was no professional basketball league, and then all of a sudden there was one, and there was Lisa Leslie and Rebecca Lobo and Cheryl Swoops and so on and so forth. But now to see the growth of it, to see the sponsorships, to see the expansion, you and I were talking off the air about the fact that I'm a big time Raptor fan. I got a We the North flag behind me here. And now that the WNBA is coming to Toronto, I'm ecstatic. So, what can you say from being inside of the league, just what the WNBA truly is and what people may not know about it?
Well, yeah, I think on its surface, it's the best league in the world, right? I mean, just unbelievably talented players with dynamic personalities who, frankly, I think you started to see it this last year, deserve every bit of attention, accolade, and promotion that's starting to come their way. And I think it's long overdue. The stories that the players and their backgrounds can tell, the product that is put on the floor every night, the high level of coaching, the high level of, obviously intensity and gamesmanship. I've never, and again, I'm partial because I was in it for so long.
Yeah.
It's never received the credit or the due that it truly deserves. And hopefully with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Cameron Brink and the younger generation of people who are coming in, it changes, and it seems like it is, and I hope it sticks, changes the tune and changes the narrative of what the league is and what it represents. Because at the end of the day, it's the highest level of basketball there is. The quality continues to grow and grow year after year, and the fan support, while there's been a steady bit of it, it seems like it's starting to explode. WNBA college, all of that, but I think it deserves all the support it gets.
Yeah, and here with Nick DiPillo celebrating the moment, here, the exclusive first conversation of the news, coming off the news that LeMoyne Dolphins have their new women's basketball head coach, Nick DiPillo. Going through your research, Nick, and we're going through the history with you right now. Before you went to the WNBA, you were at Seton Hall. I love the Big East and have a lot of passion for it because I grew up a Big East kid in Syracuse, New York. And then the University of Pittsburgh will forgive you for that. And then, Bowling Green. So, those other three stops that you made going through this history, and I'd love to get your thoughts on each of those three. But first to say, it was really amazing looking at your journey and where you've been. And the more that I read and the more that I discovered about you, the more I'm really, really excited about this hire for LeMoyne. So, what did those other three areas show you? I know you're a New Jersey guy, born and raised in North Brunswick. So, bring me into
Yeah.
Seton Hall as well as your time at the University of Pittsburgh and most recently Bowling Green out in Ohio.
Yeah, so Seton Hall, I had an opportunity to work with Tony Bozzella for 5 years. Took over a program that at the time didn't have recent history of success, and I was just fortunate to play a part in that. We won a Big East championship, went to back NCAA tournaments. Played in a few WNITs as well. Um, you know, for me to have an opportunity to coach one in the Big East, which, as you know, is a league with an amazing amount of history in my home state, with friends and family, nearby. It was great. I enjoyed it. I worked with, again, amazing people, amazing assistants, amazing players. We had a couple players go on to play in the WNBA, first WNBA draft pick in Seton Hall history, Shakina Richardson, who played for us. Um, you know, After that, obviously had time at Scranton and really missed being at the Division I level. So when Pitt kind of came about, It was an opportunity to again coach in the ACC, which one of the best leagues in college basketball against some of the best coaches, the best players. And then this past year at Bowling Green, Fred Shamil, who's the head coach there, he was a longtime assistant for Dawn Staley at the University of South Carolina. Fred and I coached against each other in the WNBA 20-ish years ago when he was in Charlotte and I was in New York. So to go with him as he tries to rebuild a program in his image, and for me to be able to assist that and us to have some success on the court, considering what we inherited and the injuries that we had, and then to see the team where they're set up for success moving forward. That's something I'll be, grateful for. I mean, again, to work with someone you've been friends with for 20 years, and then, that friend turn into one of the closest people that you know in your life. It's amazing. But each of those stops really taught me different things about geographical regions and recruiting and things of that nature. But the one thing all those places had in common is that I think there's a way to do things, and it's all about relationships. Everything comes back to relationships. So, being genuine with your student athletes, being genuine with the high school and AU coaches that you come into contact with, your athletic department that you work with, the camaraderie that you have, with them on a day-to-day basis. All of that stuff is, consistent, whether you're at the Division III level or you're in the WNBA or anywhere in between. I said it before that people make the place, and in athletics, we have a tough, stressful job. At times in the grand scheme of things, maybe not so much, but doing it with and around great people is consistent. I think winning is a byproduct of doing things the right way with the right people on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'm here consistently asking you about you, and you're consistently talking about everybody that you got to work with. Says a lot about your character and who you are. Nick DiPillo here with us in this exclusive first interview with the new LeMoyne Dolphins women's basketball head coach in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne College, and here inside of this Dolphin Dive in the Heritage Hill Studios. Nick, all of these stops in this journey, now here we are at LeMoyne. Bowling Green was the last one. You make it to the WNIT, winning record of 16-15, and LeMoyne also made it into the WNIT in their first season in Division One. This is 5 straight seasons that they've advanced to the NCAA tournament. When we go back and look at 2018-19, they had a terrific season, won their first ever tournament inside of the NE10 in NCAA Division II under Gina Castelli. Then the next year under Gina, and they advanced to the NCAA tournament that year. The next year, 2019-20, advanced to the NCAA tournament again, but the games were canceled due to COVID. And then we look after that 2021 season that was canceled, we look at 2021-22 and what Mary Grimes has done. Well, actually, going into 2020-2021, I should say, what she's done over her time in 3 seasons, NCAA Division II, back-to-back national tournaments, and then the WNIT last year in the team's first season inside of Division One. So 5 straight seasons in a national tournament. And the only reason why they're not in the NCAA tournament last year when they played for a championship in the NEC is that there's this reclassifying, so they couldn't even qualify for that. What does that say to you to be taking over a program that has had 5 straight seasons with national exposure, national tournaments, the NCAA Division II tournament, twice under Gina Castelli, advancing there, twice under Mary Grimes, and then a WNIT last year in their first reclassification year from D2 to D1?
Well, the first thing it tells me, the way you said it, is I better not screw it up, right? That's the first thing. But you know what? It just goes to show it solidifies what I saw throughout the entire interview process and all the research that I did about this position. Success happens consistently at certain places for a reason, whether it's the location, the people, a combination of all those things, hiring the right people, bring the right student athletes in. So for me, everything that you just talked about is really just a byproduct of LeMoyne College, the Syracuse community, and everything that it has to offer. It's why it's going to be I think, an easy sell for me to get people excited, get student athletes excited about the growth, the trajectory that obviously Coach Grimes most recently put the program on. I mean, I think a lot of times you want to set a foundation. Well, the foundation has already been set, right? From a basketball standpoint, from what Coach Grimes and those student athletes did, to what the university stands for with the Jesuit values. It makes it easy to preach the mission of the athletic piece of it and the college piece of it, right? So, for me, it's just everything you said, like I said, is a byproduct. I'm a big process person. Like, I haven't really talked to my team about this yet, but we'll have one of our first team meetings, and we'll talk about our big picture goal, what we want to accomplish at the end of the season, whatever that is, win NEC, OC, whatever those things are, we'll talk about as a team. But then we put it away. Then it's about the process. Then it's about the day-to-day grind that you have to go through to kind of get there. And I think, obviously Bob is here now, and I was fortunate enough that he trusted me with this position. But administrators in the past hired coaches who probably believed in that as well. It's really about a process-driven approach to everything that you do. I think once you start focusing on the big picture, have those goals, dream big, and that's great. But then put them off to the side, and kind of be ready to get to work. But I think what LeMoyne and the athletic department has to offer student athletes that I'm inheriting, and those who I hope to bring in over the next couple of weeks. I hope we continue to put product on the floor that the community will be proud of.
And that becomes the question, right? Because of the time that you're coming in trying to look at the transfer portal and, see who on the roster intends to stay, see who you had, see the spots that you have open and these different pieces here. With the transfer portal, with the potential returners, you also have Joanna Dabrowski, Katie Kalinsky, and Terrence Mannion, who had been on staff, and Emma McDonough as well. So how do you look at kind of all of this, right? What you're doing with your staff, are you bringing in your people? Are you looking at the people that are there that have been here in this middle ground to try and keep the student athletes, together and out of the transfer portal? So you got to look at the current roster, the current staff, and then go from there. How are you going to assess this? Are these one-on-one meetings? Is it, hey, I got all my people that I made promises to with my coaching staff, and with that, we're going to come in together and talk with the team? How do you look at the next step?
Whether it's staff or players, it's going to be one-on-one conversations to learn about them, right? Learn about their experience and what they did and how they contributed to the success that the program has had recently. It's for them to learn about me and my values and my vision. And then it's to see if there's synergy there, right? So, there's going to be a lot of conversations over these next couple of days. I'm excited to get to know everyone from staff to the players, to the administration when I get back on campus next week. It's really just to be a lot of conversations, because I think whether it's the student athlete that you have on your roster or an assistant coach that you have on your staff, it's really all about that synergy, and making sure your values and your philosophies align. I think that's probably the best way I can answer that, because it's, like I said, I think it's really be consistent with everyone in and around the program. Obviously as a leader of the program, my duty is to make sure that we're all going the same direction, and that we're all in alignment in everything we do that we do.
For you, Nick, you mentioned going to FDU. You were at Rutgers, Camden, and then transferred over. You played college basketball, and we saw you go from Rutgers, Camden over to FDU, and FDU is inside of the NEC, so you've had experience in the Northeast Conference. What are your thoughts about the Northeast as you've seen it grow and kind of go through these different processes, right? Because you talk about going through the process and breaking things down and whatnot. This conference has had to not reinvent itself, but it's had to deal with realignment like any other conference. And we've seen FDU on the men's basketball side a couple of years ago in the spotlight for making history. And then when we go to women's basketball, we see that LeMoyne was second in their first season in the NEC, second, 14-2 in the conference going into the conference tournament. The only loss that the best team in the conference had, Sacred Heart, was to LeMoyne in Connecticut at Sacred Heart. So now Sacred Heart's leaving, Merrimack's leaving. We look at the additions of Mercyhurst reclassifying from D2 to D1, Chicago State. What is your take on what we're seeing now after having played at FDU, now coming into LeMoyne and looking at this NEC conference? What's it look like to you?
It's a lot different, obviously, right? Like the last game of my college career, we played Monmouth, who's like three conferences away from being in the NEC, right? Whether it was Mount St. Mary's and Robert Morris, the Sacred Heart, they're all gone, right? So the schools are different. The geographic footprint, which where we're going to pull our student athletes from, hasn't really changed too much. I think just the way things are, what LeMoyne showed this year is that, we're prepared to compete and put ourselves in a position of being the top tier of the league every year. And that ultimately, as a competitor, that's the goal. I don't think Bob brought me in here to do anything less than run a program full of student athletes who do things the right way on a consistent basis and compete at the highest level. And I think those things kind of go hand in hand. So, as we kind of survey what the NEC looks like now, there's some really, really, really good coaches in this league.
Yeah.
But I think we have a lot to offer as well. So, as we go through our transition into Division One, we're excited about where we are, but we're really, really, really excited about where we're going.
Nick DiPillo here with us in this exclusive first interview with the new LeMoyne Dolphins women's basketball head coach in this edition of the Dolphin Dive from the Heritage Hill Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Nick, we're going to do something called Rapid Fire, which can be basketball related or anything. We're going to do that to get to know you a little bit better, and you as a coach know that you never get to ask the questions, and you're going to get the opportunity to do that. But before we go there, I would love
Okay.
to get your thoughts on President Dr. Linda Lemura and Athletics Director Bob Beretta and just what the leadership has meant to you, because you talk about choosing LeMoyne, understanding the Jesuit values from being at the University of Scranton and these things that made sense, and you just seeing things that really aligned with what you wanted to do. You saw the success of the program and where you think you can go with it. But leadership is important, right? These are your bosses. These are the people that you're going to be answering to and working alongside. So what is it about Linda and Bob that spoke to you, and anybody else that maybe you'd like to mention in the process as well?
Well, President Lemire, like the one thing, well, the two things that come off of for her right away, one of her is her energy level, right, and her passion for all things Lemoyne and all things women's basketball. Obviously, as a student athlete herself, she's seen where women's basketball was when she was a student athlete and where it's grown to now. I think I know she's extremely passionate about it. I'm excited to have her around our team as a role model to our young women, but also as someone who just has a great appreciation for the game. Bob is a task-driven person who is, as an administrator, it's what you want as a head coach, right? Someone who's going to support you, who's going to do whatever they can to find yes is the answer, and give you everything you need to be successful. So you're right. It always everything starts at the top, and whether it's athletics or any other field of business, things always roll downhill, right? So if you're unstable at the top, or if you lack leadership at the top, things can go either direction, right? But fortunately, we're graced with a president and an athletic director who love Lemoyne, who support women's basketball, and who are going to do everything they can to make sure that we have what we need to be successful.
Your family is obviously going to make this home now, and this new chapter of your life, and hopefully with many years to come. And so I know your wife Kelsey, 2-year-old son Frank. We have a daughter on the way in August,
Hmm.
and also
Yep.
your 16-year-old daughter Madeline. What can you tell us about that piece of it, right? Because the most important piece of it is the family and making sure that not only that you have a good experience, but you make this decision together, not in a silo. So what can you tell
Sure.
us about this move and what the family thought about it when you sat down, and if you took some time to go to your wife's stomach there and have a little heart to heart with the daughter to be as well?
We did, it's the only thing that'll get me emotional talking about, right? Everything we do is obviously going to be for our family, right? So my wife and I, we had conversations. Anytime an assistant coaching, head coaching position comes up, the pros, the cons, what it looks like, um, the community. We did a lot of research about the community in Syracuse, the people, being back closer to our family on the East Coast. We're both from Jersey. So, what you're going to get from her and from our family is is a family that's all in, right? Like they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be supporting at games. They're going to travel with us when possible. They're going to show up at practice, show up in the office. Hopefully, I can get a few babysitters off the roster so Kelsey and I can have a night out here and there. But with her, she's the most supportive uh, person I could ever ask for in my life, because to be a coach's wife, that you have to give and you have to sacrifice so much of yourself to make things work. I mean, we've had a few moves in the last few years with the end goal, always to find a position like LeMoyne where we can lay roots down. It hasn't, to go from Scranton to Pitt to BG now to moving out to Syracuse, it's essentially 4 moves in 4 years, right? And for us, this has always been the end goal. Like, where can we settle roots down, raise a family, and just immerse ourselves in a community where we can have unbelievable amounts of success professionally and in our personal lives as well. So we're all in, and we couldn't be more excited to get going.
You said that with all these moves, you were looking for a place this whole time to dig roots. What is it about Syracuse, New York, and the Central and Upstate New York community that makes you believe that this can be a long-term home?
Yeah, it always comes back to the people and the locations for me, right? Like, we're East Coast people. We're 3.5, 4 hours away from our home in Jersey. A lot of the things that we're used to, the way people are, the way people drive, the way people talk, the way people are, this is us, right? This is us, and to do it at LeMoyne, which is a place that's so similar to the experience that we had in Scranton, where we absolutely loved. For us, it's the right place at the right time. With the right group of people.
That come from Nick DiPillo in this exclusive first interview. Dolphin Dive is what we have for you every single month in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. Our new LeMoyne Dolphins women's basketball head coach, picture in picture with me, Nick DiPillo. Now we get to play rapid fire, Nick. You're going to get used to this over time. You get to ask questions. I get to ask questions. There's no preparation. It can be about literally anything in the world. And like I said, coaches don't get to ask questions ever, and I like to be different here on Wake Up Call. So what is your first question for me?
Go-to restaurant in the Syracuse area.
You're gonna get me in trouble. I work with a bunch of them, so I would say, well, with a last name that ends in a vowel, I'm guessing there's Italian blood in here, correct?
There is.
So I'm gonna take you to Lasca's, and we're gonna go
Okay.
out to Auburn. You got my word on this. If you want to go, we're gonna go out to Auburn. Portions are huge. Price is still good, even post all this COVID stuff. And they got a veal parmesan where you get two like big pieces of veal, cheese all over it, sauce. They have this like kind of thinner, like not as thick marinara sauce that's got a little kick to it for the bread. So I would say if we're gonna go out, we're gonna do something right. We're gonna go out to Lasca's.
I like it.
My first question for you. All right, I've been in different parts of Jersey.
Hmm.
I can't speak to some of the dating episodes out in Jersey, but I have to ask you, what is the best part of North Brunswick? How would you describe home to someone who's never been there?
Oh man, it's eclectic. It's a microcosm of this world. I mean, you can get any type of food, see any type of person, talk to people of every different descent that there is, and it's still, and then no matter how long it's been since I've been there, when I drive through, uh, it's home, right? And that's the best part about it. Like, there's just so many people who are still around from when I was there. I went through the other day, and I went to a few weeks ago. I was actually back in Jersey, and I went through the bagel shop that I worked at when I was in high school, right? So just kind of being there, it's home, right? So it's a great place with great people. Um, yeah, yeah, that's the best way I can describe it.
I like it. We got a couple more apiece. What's your next one for me?
All right. Memorial Day weekend is coming up. My family and I are coming up that way. What's one site that we should see?
One site you should see up in Syracuse. I mean, it goes without saying that you should see the Heights. I mean, you know what that looks like up there, but LeMoyne's campus is absolutely beautiful and just built like it keeps going up. But I would say to go out to Onondaga Lake Parkway, go to Hyde's, get yourself. It's written Coney If you're from here, you call them coonies. They look like white hot
Okay.
dogs. It's pork, but it's fantastic. So I would say go to Hyde's, do yourself a service, go to Hyde's out in Liverpool, and then go over to Onondaga Lake Parkway and take a walk by the water and take in all the views and just get a feel for what that's like. I think that that's a really nice and relaxing thing. I mean, and it's an easy way to show you that here in central and upstate New York, we just, people, when they think of New York, people think of buildings and traffic and New York City. And upstate New York is just, I call it, God's canvas, and he just does things with the paintbrush here that you just don't see anywhere else quite like this. So I would say go to Onondaga Lake Parkway, get yourself a hot dog or a coonie, and just walk around and take in the water.
Love it.
My next one for you. All right, Nick, are you a movie guy?
Uh, yes and no.
Okay, so
Depends on the movie.
depends on the movie. All right, so
Yeah.
if you and I were locked in a room and we were forced to watch 3 movies for the rest of eternity,
Oh, that's great.
but you got to pick it, what 3 movies are
Yeah.
we going to watch?
The Shawshank Redemption, Rudy, and Creed.
Okay, I like that eclectic group.
Yeah.
I like that. What's your
Oh,
last
yeah.
one? What's your last one for me?
Um, best best thing to do to beat the snow in the winter.
Stay inside.
that was a layup.
No, I was gonna. Best thing to beat the snow. I think for me, first and foremost, I mean, I got a Honda CRV, so I'm notorious for instead of plowing, I just back up and know that
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to run over it. But I would say the best thing to beat the snow is snow is one of the most pure things on earth. When it falls, it's whiter than white. It's absolutely beautiful. So I think, with your family and you got a teenager and you got a little one and a little one to come, I would say go out and build a snowman, play in the snow, have a fun snowball fight, make snow angels. I tell people all the time that complain about the snow, there's earthquakes, there's monsoons, there's mudslides,
Agreed.
there's tornadoes and hurricanes. We live in an area where you can actually play in the storm, which is very rare. So I would say you beat the snow by playing in it.
I like it. I like it.
My last one for you, Nick. If there was a theme song that followed Nick DiPillo into every room,
Oh, man.
what song is going to play every time you walk? Like as soon as you
Oh,
walk
it's-
through a doorway, bang, that's the song.
Wow, that's brutal. So I'm a '90s hip hop and R&B guy.
I'm right there with you.
So I'm gonna go Jay-Z, Can't Knock the Hustle.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I can appreciate it. When you talk about
Yeah.
90s hip hop and R&B, that's the world I tell people, if you looked at my music, you would have thought I grew
Yeah.
up in like South Central Philly. Like if you see my Motown and all of my like the rappers I listen to and all that stuff. So I think you and I will be able to connect on a lot of things, including
Amen.
music. Nick DiPillo
Amen.
here with us. Exclusive first interview with the new LeMoyne Dolphins women's basketball head coach, leading us into the future on the Heights. And of course, here with us on Dolphin Dive in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from the Heritage Hill Studios. Nick, I cannot thank you enough for choosing LeMoyne and also for our conversation off the air and of course our conversation now. This is one of many to come. And honestly, I told you this before we started talking here, but I'm really excited, feel great about this hire and, a lot of positive energy. So I can't wait to get you on campus and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Same here. I appreciate, in the short time, that we talked, your passion, your energy, and all you do to support, our women's basketball program. I feel comfortable saying this. We appreciate it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, that being said, Nick DiPillo, the newest face at LeMoyne, we'll see you very soon, Nick, and my best to you and safe travels to you and the family coming up to Syracuse.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.